Movement is happening in the world of ticketing, and I'm so excited. People are fighting. People are fighting dynamic pricing, people are fighting service fees, and it's all great. Some have great solutions, some have not so good solutions. But the most important part, people are starting to push back on these high ticket prices.
Live the life you love.
I recently wanted to buy tickets to Guns N' Roses, one of my favorite artists, and I can't afford to buy $1,000 ticket for a show or pay 500. I don't want to pay $500 for a nosebleed ticket, right? Ticket prices have gotten insane, and something needs to be done. Movement is finally happening. Hopefully, it's the right changes that are going to be happening. Before I dive in, a quick little background on what why we are where we are today. I did a whole video, which I'll put the link in the notes below, or you can click the link up there if I do it the right way. And you can watch a whole video on the whole Taylor Swift debacle and what happened there, and deep dive background on why dynamic ticketing exists in the first place and what service fees are, right? But as a quick recap, dynamic ticketing started because the scalpers were making more money on tickets than the artists. For example, if a $100 ticket was sold by a scalper for $1,000, the scalper made 10 times as much as the artist, venue, and promoter put together on that ticket. So promoters were starting to influence artists, and artists were also involved in the conversation on figuring out how can we price tickets smarter so artists get that money in their pocket, $1,000, instead of the scalpers. That is basically the birth of dynamic ticketing, and this is what's pushing the ticket prices up. It's based on supply and demand. So the more tickets crash a ticketing website, the more the price is going to get pushed up, and the more you will pay for those ticket prices. Service fees. Who controls the service fees? In the Senate hearing or Judiciary Committee meeting with Ticketmaster, they were saying that service fees are controlled, or that service fees are controlled by the venues and ticketing companies, and that is true. Ticketing companies and the venues control what service fees are. However, promoters get a kickback from what the venues can get a kickback, not always, but it's one of the things that promoters will fight for, right? So when you see those service fees, it's what's called a promoter rebate or a ticket rebate. The ticketing company basically gives a cut back to the venues. However, I have a deep dive on this. I highly want to encourage y'all to check that out to really learn how that works. So now let's talk about some of the solutions that are currently happening. So first up, there's this bill called the Taylor Swift bill that's been introduced in Massachusetts. And this article is deceiving, right? Because this article says Taylor Swift bill proposed in Massachusetts to ban dynamic ticket pricing. However, if you read the bill, and I'll include links to all these articles that I have here and to this bill in the notes below. But if you read the actual bill, it has nothing to do with dynamic pricing, right? So the name of the bill is an act ensuring transparent ticket pricing, right? So all this bill does is make sure that ticket pricing is transparent, right? And suggesting that an all-in ticket price is shown to the customer. However, if there's an all-in ticket price shown to the customer, it's not really that transparent, right? It's better for it to be broken out like it currently is. So let's take a look at a quick example. Okay, so if I were to buy a ticket to that Guns N' Roses show that I was looking at, so official platinum, I went to platinum ticket, that is a ticket that has dynamic pricing. So $484.25 is the face value of the ticket. So that is a total of $968.50. The service fee, this is transparent, right? It's $100 service fee, so $197.85. So $195.70 in service fees on that ticket. Then there's a facility charge, $5 per ticket facility charge. Transparent, right? That's going to the facility. Order processing fee, $8. Tax, $16.60, right? So that $968 has an extra $230 in fees tacked on to the ticket. And again, the biggest one in question is the service fee. But if it's just a fee to provide a service, and this is transparent, right? And facility, so this assumed goes to Ticketmaster. The facility fee is assumed goes to the facility. The order processing fee is to pay for credit card fees, and taxes is the sales tax on the ticket. So this is transparency. However, what is not transparent is what's happening with that service fee and who gets paid on that, right? So, and what amount is being paid to? So, what amount of service fees going to the venue? What amount is going to actually Ticketmaster? Um, so that's the part that's the issue. Also, the dynamic ticketing. That's what's really driving up the price of this ticket. So these are the two issues right here. It's the service fee and dynamic pricing. This bill right here does absolutely nothing to address that problem. So here's the first issue, right? So usually for those of you that have watched the show in the past or have watched other videos of mine, you know I'm more a free market guy. I believe usually when government tends to interfere in things, they tend to make things worse, right? So here's an example of how passing laws makes things worse, right? And interfering with the free market tends to drive up the price to the customers. So Zach Bryan and AAG were doing a show or doing a tour where they're not allowing the transfer of tickets, where tickets cannot, or yeah, they're not allowing tickets to be transferred. Right? If you make a reservation at a hotel, you buy a ticket for an airplane, you buy a ticket to other things other than live events, you cannot transfer that ticket. You have to use the ticket for that. So why are live events different? So they had a no transfer policy, and apparently in certain states, this policy has violated the state laws, right? And this was in states like Colorado, Virginia, and New York. All three of these states have laws that allow people to resell tickets. So this is the Virginia Ticket Resale Rights Act. So they are encouraging scalpers to resell tickets. Again, no problem with scalpers, but scalpers is the reason why Live Nation and artists came up with dynamic pricing, right? So dynamic pricing is the issue, and that issue was created because of scalpers. So I'm sorry, scalpers. The way we get around dynamic pricing is to not allow tickets to be transferred. That's one of the solutions. Another campaign that's happening, right? It's the Fix the Ticks campaign, and I love this organization, right? It's the National Independent Venue Association. They did some really, really great things with COVID, but they are really focusing on legislation and legislators and getting Congress involved in fixing the ticketing problem. And a bunch of companies have signed on to this, right? Surprise, surprise. Not a single agency is on here, right? Or except for Wasserman, take that back. But major agencies like CAA, William Morris, UTA, they have not signed on to this, right? As of right now. That's going to be pressure added to those organizations. But in independent ticketing companies like Eventbrite and Tixer, of course, and C-Tickets, of course, they're going to want to fight back against this and pass legislation because that presumably gives them an opportunity, right? And the other thing I want to say too is we'll talk about solutions in a second, but things they're trying to pass, no problem with this, right? Protecting fans from price gouging, so basically protecting fans from scalping and from dynamic ticketing. Ban fake tickets, that's something that happens a lot. You should never buy a ticket from someone that you don't know, and really you should always buy just directly from the venue itself. And fraudulent resale practices, ensure every fan has a full ticket price up front, prioritize privacy and ensure fan safety, guarantee fans the chance to recoup their costs if they can't make the show. So this is the conflict of interest, right? So transferable tickets are not possible if you, well, I guess you could still have non-transferable tickets if you offer refunds, right? There should be maybe a little bit less of a strict refund policy. That way, at least if fans can't go, they can get their tickets refunded so it can be sold to someone that can actually make it to the show. So I have no issue with this. The issue I have with all of this is getting Congress and legislation involved. There's a lot of solutions that artists can create without using the legal system because they're just going to mess it up, right? Because part of the reason why these exclusive ticketing deals already exist to begin with is because of local governments. It's because arenas, stadiums, amphitheaters, they're signing exclusive deals with Ticketmaster and also having with other ticketing companies like Access and SeatGeek. These exclusive deals allow for no competition. There's a venue called the Greek Theater in LA. They allow any promoter to use whatever ticketing company they would like for their shows. That is the way to go, right? Allow a free market in ticketing, and that's going to create solutions. Also, there needs to be more pressure on artists and their teams because it's the artist ultimately that signs off saying, yes, we're going to allow dynamic pricing. They don't have as much leverage on the service fees unless it's the giant artists. But again, that's where a more free market approach can create solutions by not allowing these. It's the big venues that are a big violator, right? It's the arenas, stadiums, and amphitheaters. Not allowing them to have exclusive ticketing deals, and allowing any promoter, any event producer to use whatever ticketing platform they want. Most of these venues were actually funded by tax dollars, so it's in a way double taxation, right? Because they're using these giant ticketing companies exclusively, getting a kickback from those ticketing companies, which for venues that are paid by tax dollars. So I think it's a huge conflict of interest to allow city-funded venues or county or tax dollar funded venues to sign exclusive deals. That is corporatism at its definition, and it's not free markets, right? If we have government and the private sector involved. Anyways, I digress on my political rant. So there's solutions that artists can do too, right? So artists can push back. Foo Fighters started this trend in 2015 and 2014 called Beat the Box campaign, right? Where you could only buy tickets at the box office for the pre-sale. And this was amazing, right? So any fan could go to the box office, pay no fees, and be guaranteed a paper ticket to their show, and voila, no issue. And this also recently happened, a similar campaign with Maggie Rogers, where she said, fuck the bots, fuck the fees, come buy a ticket in person tomorrow only, right? Info and bio. So she basically allowed fans to buy tickets to her show at the box office, get a physical ticket, and there were no fees, and there's no dynamic pricing on these tickets, right? So people actually real fans got to go to the box office and buy the tickets. Foo Fighters has done campaigns like this also when I worked with them at House of Blues. You could only buy 2 tickets per person, and you would have to show the ID and the credit card that you used to buy the tickets to actually be able to go to the show. And then staying on Foo Fighters, right? Foo Fighters, again, has on their current tour an anti-transfer policy. It has fans worried that in case they can't make the show, that they cannot get refunded on their tickets. This is such a small percentage of fans, right? It's always the small percentage that are very, very loud and can cause a lot of issues. So these what needs to happen. There needs to be less strict refund policies and allow fans to at least get refunded. That way we can avoid transfer of tickets, because again, that is what's causing the entire issue to begin with. Because the scalpers getting involved, promoters and artists are trying to figure out how they can take that pot instead of the scalpers, create dynamic pricing, right? So again, sorry scalpers, but because of the scalpers, dynamic pricing exists, and because of dynamic pricing, things have gotten outrageous to a whole new extreme. And then another solution here again, AAG and Zach Bryan on their tour. So again, remember the laws that were in those states in Colorado, Virginia, and New York, where you would have to allow fans to transfer tickets. So they came up with a brilliant solution. And this is actually a brand new article that just came out. So their solution was, here's the messaging from Access, which is actually owned by AEG. So it says, hi there. Thank you for contacting Access. I'm sorry for this. We are just made aware of the state law, and an alternate option has been made available. For Zach Bryan events at John Paul Jones Arena, and MVP Arena and Forest Hill Stadium, if you would like to transfer your Zach Bryan tickets, we can change your method of delivery to will call. This will enable you to pick up paper tickets at the venue, which are freely transferable. Please email us and contact information, right? And what's great about this, it is a solution, right? So the state laws didn't allow fans to transfer tickets, so no scalping, and I was hoping they didn't have dynamic pricing on these tickets, but no scalping essentially. So whoever bought the ticket had to use the ticket. If for whatever reason you can't go, they say, well, you come to the box office, pick up a ticket, and then give it to whoever you want to give it to. Right? So you can transfer the physical ticket, you just can't transfer it digitally. So it's actually the real ticket that's being given to fans. And the Fix the Ticks campaign, right? This addresses so many solutions. It gets rid of fake tickets, it protects fans from price gouging, it ends fraudulent pre-sale, it ensures every fan has full ticket price per person that bought it, right? Prioritizes privacy and ensures fan safety. Most of these issues are addressed in solutions that are already happening. So why continue to get legislators involved that don't understand the industry and create terrible bills like the bill in Massachusetts that has zero transparency, and actually empower the artists and empower the fans and empower the venues and the promoters to come up with solutions and put pressure on them, put the pressure on the artists venues, promoters to do something, because they are the ones that have the power to. We need to get rid of dynamic pricing. We need to get rid of service fees. I'm sorry, I know I have promoters that coach, or at least figure out how to reduce the service fees, because it's gotten outrageous. When the service fees are 50% of the ticket price, it's really, really hard for the average person to afford to go to a show. So anyways, these are some updates in the world of ticketing. Things are happening. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. If you have any thoughts, any questions, or ideas for additional content and videos on this topic or any topic when it comes to live events or the music industry, please leave a comment. Thank you all for watching. Spread love, positivity, and kindness in the world. Peace, my friends.